So today I'm going to talk to you about another aspect that we are looking for in the next generation of midwives as we continue this process of accepting applications to the Indie Birth Midwifery School 2-year program. And Maren and I have been trying to kind of crack the code on who is the most, what qualities somebody possesses when they end up actually doing the work of being a midwife or being a birth worker. I guess specifically we're talking about being a midwife. So I wanted to talk to you about the quality of determination and the lack of the quality of being a total flake. So when I started out as a student midwife, I was almost 22. I was about to turn 22. Maren made it very clear to me when we first sat down and met that this was kind of a trial, that I could go to prenatal appointments and sort of prove myself dedicated in that way, and then sort of see if I got invited to births and see where it took us. And I didn't understand at the time kind of where the skepticism came from. And I was determined to prove to her that she did not need to be skeptical of me. And so what that looked like was because she made it so clear, there had been others before me who said they wanted to do this. They lasted a birth or 2 or 3 and then disappeared. She'd call them to come to the birth and they just wouldn't show up, or they'd say, "Can I wait till morning?" That kind of stuff. So I was bound and determined to show her that I was not fucking around, that this is what I wanted to do. And it was really, it was part of what student midwifery was for me, was showing my dedication by always showing up, never making excuses. And I can think of the 1 or 2 times where I even sort of tried to flake out and didn't let myself, but it's hard work and it's hard to be on call all the time. But I knew that if I wanted to earn the trust of this midwife, Maren, and the trust of her clients, that I could not be halfway in this work. So what's been kind of challenging, I think, with the Indie Birth Midwifery School is that, it isn't the same amount of in-person physical dedication to do an online program as it might be to show up in person. Although I don't think that that's necessarily, if we were a brick and mortar school, I don't think that necessarily would keep our retention rates any higher. And it's a lot easier, I think, for people to say, oh yeah, I'll do the academic learning part, which is fine. I think people should totally learn it, whatever their motive is. If you want to do the midwifery program with no intention of ever being a midwife, that is totally fine and cool. It's awesome information to have. It can be applied in a lot of different ways and settings. But where I was going with this is just that it's been tricky because a lot of people write these really impassioned applications, right? This will be our 4th incoming class this July, about how much midwifery means to them, about how important this work is, how it's in their bones to do this work. And then, 4 months into the program, they're nowhere to be found. And that's not a judgment on them at all. It's just, as Maren and I are trying to figure out who the people are that we really want to be investing our time into as well, right? Because yes, we are making a little bit of money off of this school. I'm reading a money book right now, so I'm trying to be more transparent about all of these sorts of things. But I am we're by no means rolling in cash. And so we have to be also selective about how we energetically engage with these students, because what we've come to see is, again, and this also goes for apprenticeships. There's 10 people who say they want to be a midwife. There's 10 people who come into a program to study midwifery. Maybe 2 or 3 come out the other side. With apprenticeships, I think it's actually even less. 10 people start, 3 make it to primaries, and 1 of them probably makes it through that process. It drops off pretty steeply. So if there was a graph, of us starting with 100 people, let's say, you'll meet a lot of people in this birth world who say, oh yeah, I'm a doula, or oh yeah, I'm a student midwife, or I studied midwifery. That always is a really interesting phrase to me. Oh yeah, I've studied midwifery. And you come to ask them like more details, and they'll say, yeah, I went to about 5 births, or I went to 10 births. And there's a lot of people who do that. There's a lot of people who never go to a birth at all. They just go to a training, or they want to do a program, and they like halfway do that. And then, a smaller number have been to that small amount of births. And it's even more rare to meet somebody who's actually been to and through an apprenticeship, right? Around 50 births. Because like I said, it's hard. But I think there's more to it than that. I think that, and maybe this is something we could expand upon later. I don't have fully laid out thoughts around this, but I think a lot of people come to this work from their own wounds. And that's not a place of energy. That's a place of that needs its own healing. So a lot of people come to this to heal themselves from their past experiences, ancestral grief, whatever it might be. And I think that they get that in the first, couple births they go to. They see a few good ones. They maybe learn enough through school. And then they can turn that into the healing that they needed all along, that maybe they mistook or didn't want to admit was what they really were looking for from the beginning. So again, this is just part of Maren and I's process of trying to figure out how do we, with our very limited energy. I was literally up from 10, not even from 10. I tried to go to bed at 10 and my baby was awake till 3 a.m. last night. So I'm working with like very little sleep here on top of just regular life. We have limited energetic resources, and we really want to pour those into the right people. And so we're trying to make our best guesses about who those people are, and trying to refine our process a little bit more so that we aren't investing our energy in those people who aren't going to go out into the world and actually do this, because that is ultimately our main goal, is to get more people doing heart-centered, authentic, autonomous midwifery out in their communities, and full stop. So I'm going to go do some work in a tea shop to try and make that happen, and wanted to just share those thoughts today here. Hopefully that didn't come off as super judgmental and mean, because it's not that. I just really think it's important for people to take stock of where their motivation is coming from around birth work. And not that there's one pure and true calling, that some people have and some people don't. I think it ebbs and flows, but I think it's always important to be honest with ourselves about what we are looking for, and make sure that that's what we're getting ourselves into. So if you want to be part of the Indie Birth Midwifery School, which is so cool, it's a 2-year program. It is what I wanted when I was a student. If I could have dreamt up a program for myself that was structured, that was engaging, that involved tons of video content, the readings that we assign, cool assignments, other really rad women to do it with, and all in 2 years, that's what I would have done. That's why we made the school, and it starts again in July. So we have a really fun midwifery school sneak peek, sort of catalog-y thing that's going to be coming out pretty soon, and we're really excited to share that with you. I think it really highlights what it is that we're doing here and the scope and breadth of this amazing project that we've put together, because it's 30 classes. It's some serious shit. It's a big project to go through this 2-year program, and we honor the people that are doing it, and we also honor the people who are maybe getting partway into it and realizing it's not what they want to be doing with their energy, that maybe they got what they needed and they don't need to finish the program, but we're still continually trying to explore ways to work with that stuff. So that's where some of my thoughts are coming from today. So hope that is interesting. If you are a midwifery apprentice, I will say don't be a flake. I'll end on that note. Just if you need another person reminding you, if you're serious about doing this work, you need to be serious about doing this work. and you will not regret it. So that's it for me.